We talked previously about pixel shift shooting, where the sensor would move slightly in order to get a really high resolution image. Focus shift uses a similar kind of idea. What it will do is automatically change where in the kind of in distance the camera is focusing, so that you can then stack all of these images together and have an image with lots of depth of field. So again, this is something that is in the Z6iii that isn't in the Z5. So we're gradually going through those differences. But what we do to set this up, let's go into our menu. And then here, right down at the bottom of the photo shooting menu, just above pixel shift shooting, there's a lot of complicated names here. Complicated to say, not complicated words. But in this one, we go into it and then we've got our various options. So once we come into here, we can see that we've got lots of different options. We've got the number of shots that we want to take. So you can have up to 300 by the looks of things. So 300 pictures if you want to. All with a slight change in the distance that you focused. But let's go for something a bit more sensible. Let's go for 10 to begin with and okay that. Next up, we've got our focus step width. And this is a scale of narrow to wide as to how big a distance there is between where it's focusing. So if you had something that was quite close, then your steps would be quite narrow. If you had lots of things that were far apart, they'd be wide. Fairly self-explanatory, really. So let's just stick to the middle for that. Next up, interval until the next shot. So this is the number of seconds between shots. So whether it's because you want to move something or because of some other reason, lighting or something like that, you may want to have a time in between them. You can go from 0 to 30 seconds. I'm going to keep it on 0. And then you've got first frame exposure lock. So it will keep the exposure the same as it is in that first frame that you take a picture of. So whether you're taking 10 or 300 pictures, you can freeze that exposure of that image as it was on the first shot. And then with the electronic shutter, you can turn it on or off and then have the volume of it as well, because silent mode doesn't work with focus shift for some reason. I have no idea why. Maybe someone knows, pop it in the comments below if you do know, but I don't. And then you can auto reset the focus position if you want to at the end. And you can tell it where you want to start storing these. So whether you save it into a new folder, whether you restart the numbering or something like that. So it's a bit easier to find these images, group them together, and then do the post-processing that's needed in order to focus stack them, which we'll go on to next, in order to get that image with a big depth of field. So it's fairly straightforward to set up. I'm going to use a landscape for the testing of this, so it'll be relatively straightforward for me. Like I said, I'm going to use 10 pictures. I'm going to make sure my camera is on a tripod, that nothing moves in between taking these, and then take those 10 different pictures, merge them all together, and then we can have a look at the results of it. What we're going to do is have a look at focus shift editing. So these are the 10 pictures that I've taken with the focus shift option. And what I'm going to do is now open them up in Photoshop. So I need to move from Lightroom to Photoshop, and I want to open them up as layers. So let's do that now. Just takes a moment to do that. Even with this computer, it does take a little while. So they should all open up as layers. So there will be 10 of them when we get to the end. So all of my layers have now loaded. You can see them all down this right hand side here. And then what we want to do is select all of our layers and then go to edit and then auto align layers. And then we want to just choose auto for this and okay. It will think about it for a moment. There we go, that's done. So now we've still got all 10 of them selected, and again we go to Edit, Auto Blend Layers this time. And what we want to do is stack images with seamless tones and colors. So again, it will just take a few moments for it to do this. And there we go. So what we can see on this right hand side is the masks which have been applied. So you can see the different areas of the images that it's taken as being in focus for each one. Can't see a huge change, but that's what it's done there. These are what you can see at the side. That's it, it's masking. So it uses that to do everything it needs to. And then all we'll need to do is just save that. We can see our progress at the bottom here. It's just saved it. And what we can do is wait for it to import back from Photoshop into Lightroom. And then one of these will be, there we go. So you can see this is our edit.tiff. And so this is our merged file. And as you can see, it's enormous. So we go E for edit, and then we can just edit it as normal. So again, not particularly helpful for this particular picture. It was just where I was when I was demonstrating this. And what this has done is taken different pictures which are focused on different areas throughout the image, throughout the scene in front of me, I should say. And it's now put all of those 10 slices together so that as much of that image is in focus as is possible. So there we go, that is focus shift shooting. As I said, this is one of the features on the Z6iii that isn't there on the Z5 or the Z30, so it's new to me. Join me again next week and we'll start to look at some other bits on the Z6iii. Have a great week. Bye.